there are those expectations that we expect a man has to deliver or adhere to, but what does it really take for a man to be able to adhere to those expectations and at the end of the day also work on themselves? We're going to be having that conversation with Kiari Mwangi, a team leader at Fariji Africa, an organization that uses sports to empower guys who are behind bars.
Asante sana for your warm welcome,
Thank
warm
you.
hospitality.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of youth energy.
Yes, team power, youth power.
Vijana mtaani.
Yes. So maybe to start from that, what is your view on that mtaani that we have? Do you have anything to add on that? Anything to talk about?
Yes, one I'm very, very, very impressed by the fact that you use the voice of the youth. So Sema, the youth engagement is in 4 ways. You engage the youth using sports, using music, using fashion,
yes,
and using drama. So I'm happy that you have at least 1 or 2 of those.
Okay.
Nimona fashion, nimona music, good stuff.
Okay. But I'd love to quote something that one of the guys from the mtaani said. A man is allowed to cry under certain circumstances, but kuna time ukilia mseko like, boss, you're a man, be a man.
Yes.
When is a man allowed to cry?
A man is allowed to cry anytime. Manake akizaliwa, watu anapigwa pia analia. Just like a woman, just like a girl pia anazaliwa anapigwa for her to cry.
Okay.
And those are the kind of societal conversations that has now brought us to where we are today. Because it tunasemanga a man cannot cry. Ama tunasemanga ati mwanaume ni kujikaza. Ama tunasemanga ati mwanaume ni effort. They are all good. But the truth of the matter is the effort pia inakuanga na ni end.
Yeah.
Your effort.
Yeah.
Number 2, we have been brought up in a society that really puts a man up there. Patriarchal society. Zile siku, as we are growing up, tunaambiwa ukilia, it's a weak sign of weakness. So men have been taught not to express the emotion of hurt, of anger, of disarming.
Okay.
So whereas women on the other side, kutoka tambo sana we were in school, unakuwa kiambiwa ukikasirishwa lia. When you're not angry, crying is okay. We'll pamper you. I think those are the conversations which, as we build into the show, we'll be delving further.
Okay. It is very okay to cry, guys. Cry it out when you feel like you need to cry. But you've talked about us using the youth to just talk about some of these conversations, but now there's Fariji. Fariji is also trying to solve some of these problems by using sports. So let's start from understanding, what does Fariji do? When did Fariji start?
Okay. Well, my name is Kiari Mwangi. Born in Eastlands, schooled in Eastlands, married in Eastlands, children going to school in Eastlands. I still live in Eastlands. Nini ingine Eastlands?
Unapenda Eastlands.
Napenda Eastlands. So, one of the conversations growing up was basically the boy girl.
Okay.
As we grew up playing sports, boxing, football, and we grew up knowing that Eastlands was a place where you really needed to work hard and get out of Eastlands. Anything bad was Eastlands. Drugs was Eastlands. Teenage pregnancy was Eastlands. So, growing up, those are the conversations that also kept to me. I played football. Born in Jericho, so obviously football was all in the menu. And then slowly as I started my professional work, I worked in the media. And I did a lot of sports in the media. And that's when I started to realize kuna mavijana wengi mtaani who was in the sports, in the media, but at some point, tunawakosa mtaani.
Yes, yes.
So, and that is where Fariji was born. Fariji was actually born, in quotes, in 2009, because I used to work for an organization called Supersport. We used to do a lot of live OB, live TV. And around that time, we also discovered a lot of guys who are being incarcerated. You have a guy today in the team, 2 weeks later, humuoni. Uliza mtaani, Johnny yuko wapi? Nini yuko ndani. So Fariji started out of a personal initiative of going to Kamiti Prison.
Okay.
Just to reconnect with the sporting fraternity of Eastlands. When I went there, I was amazed. There were guys from FC Leopards, guys from Mathare, guys from Gor Mahia, the clubs in Kenya.
Yes.
We started and said, then there must be something. There's a correlation between sports and these guys who are inside.
Yes.
One thing that came out was, once you're a sports personality, growing up, especially in Eastlands, when you champion, when you starring. And sometimes with the starring, comes a lot of expectation. With expectations comes a lot of ways to meet
Those
expectations.
yes.
And those are the ones that lead people to crime.
Okay.
So that is how briefly Fariji started 2009. When I went to Kamiti, and around that time, former President Moi Kibaki had commuted prisoners from death row to life imprisonment. So that meant that now they could mingle with the rest, and football was the platform that got me inside.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So the time you got there with the football thing, what next? What happened next?
Well, 4 things happened. One, it created a buzz because there were former footballers, and they actually discovered that playing football was actually a release, a therapeutic to them for the stress, and they looked forward to play. Number 2, another exciting thing happened. 2014, where I used to work at MultiChoice, Kenya Limited. I spoke to my bosses. They gave me a TV and a Go TV decoder. And it was during that time of Digitica, analog, digital. I took the TV and the Go TV to Kamiti. It changed. Suddenly, they could watch news. They could watch football. They could watch their fellow comrades at home play. So that really, really drove a lot of conversations around therapy, around rehabilitation. And they actually started looking forward to play football. The other thing that happened was the community outside. Because suddenly I had gotten to have conversations with them, and then I discovered that out here, their wives, their children, their sisters, they were also a community outside here. Nobody talked about them. Nobody still talks about the families out here. So the third thing that happened was we started having community conversations around. And that would happen by one, taking the teams to Kamiti to play.
Okay.
So they go, they interact with their watu wa mtaa. We have done Kasarani, Jericho, Kawangware, Marambi, Kibira, just taking the community. That's the first thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that happened was we started having conversations with children of incarcerated,
Okay.
especially men, vijana, let's say boys.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think that also will form part of this conversation, because this thing tunasemanga boys to men.
Mm-hmm.
There is a gap between the boy and the man.
Yes.
When there is one, dysfunctional families.
Yes.
Dysfunctional because either the guy out of crime alipigwa risasi akakufa, ama the guy is incarcerated. So those boys, as they grow, they look out for their fathers.
Yes.
And these are stories you have heard huku mtaani. People saying, lakini nasikianga dadi yuko kule, si pia mimi nifanye kitu ndio I go and join him. So those are the conversations that helped us to just narrow down to boys and find out what are the gaps in the community and in the society that touches on the boys.
Yes.
Last but not least, we started having boy-child conversations. Boy-child conversations deliberately, just for boys. Kumbuka, there had been a lot of girl conversation, girl empowerment, girl power, my dress, my choice, Kilimani moms, especially for to go rant. So there had been a lot of girl this, girl that, a lot of GBV, gender-based violence, was on girls, rape, nanini. But then slowly you discovered even boys were part of GBV.
Yes.
Even boys were sexually harassed, by the way. And we also discovered even boys had their my dress, my choice, but it was not their SAG, their choice.
Yes.
So that drove another conversation of how then do we position these boys in the community so that they don't end up in crime as their fathers. Now, those are the 4 key areas that we targeted on.
Okay.
The boy child himself, we had what was called the Boy Child Father's Day. Father's Day is celebrated in June, 2nd week of June, I think. A lot of focus also always goes to Mother's Day, which is always before Father's Day.
Yes.
So for the first time, 2017, we went to Naivasha Medium Prison and we held Father's Day inside there, talking nothing else but boys.
Okay.
So having all those conversations, then we went and looked at statistics. Mnasemanga numbers don't lie.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, statistics kidogo hapa. One, there are about 58,000 prisoners in Kenya.
Okay.
There are 109 prisons. Kuna jela 109. 92% of the inmates are men.
True.
Now, number two. No, part A, B. Out of the 92%, 71% of them are aged between 19 and 32 years. Hii ndio ile mnasemanga the youthful age, hii ndio mnasemanga ile age ya vijana. That's when big four agenda, hii ndio time ya kumari. Now, 71% of those 92% are in jail. That was clearly something about men.
Yes.
Number three, the government iko na 10 approved schools. 8 of them are for boys. So what that does tell you, nakwambia, is it that boys ndio kichwa ngumu, that they need more approved schools than girls?
No, what's happening? Yes.
Or then, number two, there must be something wrong, because at these approved schools, the boys, they're overflowing. The admissions is in overflow. So that means there's obviously a problem in society.
Okay.
Number three, suicide rate in Kenya. 2019 statistics reported suicide cases ilikuwa 314. 243 of those
For men.
were men. So clearly hapo there must be something about boys and men in the society. We just move in a bit further, the UN calendar. UN has got Women Day in March. There's a Girls Day celebrated. They have got 7 holidays or 7 calendar dates strictly for women and girls. Hakuna ya boys hata moja.
Wow.
In fact, right now is when we are starting to lobby, because this year, for the first time in Kenya, we celebrated World Day of the Boy Child. It's commemorated every 16th of May. 80% of the Kenyans don't even know. Manake ni boys. Najua hata ukujua. Thank you. Yeah.
So why do you think the problem is, Mwangi?
I can narrow it down to one. I said dysfunctional family.
Yes.
Number two, mentorship. Kumbuka, girls, okay, let me say it this way. Girls used to be taken to boarding schools for mentorship. In fact, girls' boarding schools, there was a matron, there was a counseling person. Nani mwingine? Remind me.
And counseling, who is the other person? I can't remember.
But there was someone who guided. Even girls in Form 1, they actually had like big sisters.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, who like guided you.
Yes.
Even through puberty, even through your body changes. There were a lot. What about men? I can tell you today, boys were taken to boarding school ostensibly to be disciplined. Ulikuwa ukisikia mtaa na Johnny amenishinda sana, I need to take him to boarding school. So it inherently meant that kumbe boys are generally indisciplined. They needed to be taken to boarding schools to be disciplined.
Yes.
That was already a disconnect. Number three, initiation. What girls used to be taken through by their aunties, by their big sisters during their hormonal cycles, their puberty phase, boys used to be taken through during initiation.
Okay.
They were being told, hey, sister, you're becoming of age. Don't do certain things. Start doing certain things. Don't play with these, or another respect. And the community expected the boy, through initiation, to change or to behave differently. Nowadays, we have the kababa generation. Wale tunaona kwa salon na mama zao. Now, that generation is the one now that even the initiation and that gap, it's being undertaken from hospitals, it's being done without the cultural end of it.
Okay.
So that's number 3. Number 4, as every growing youth, tunasema, with their changes, we have had a lot of NGO and government engage in girls. There's been a lot of NGO giving sanitary pads to schools. There has been a lot of girl education towards their menstrual hygiene. And we have always asked this question at many forums. Sanitary pads is to girls, as X is to boys. As what is to boys?
I don't know.
Thank you. I think that smile tells you don't know. Even me, I don't know. So imagine. so imagine, wakati girls, wakati in the mixed schools, you were told boys were being taken out of class so that girls would be taught. But then the boys are taken out of class, wanaambiwa, nendeni kucheza kidogo. We are talking to girls. So those are the kind of the key areas. Number 4, health. Statistics. In February this year, 43% of the new HIV infection last year were aged between 16 and 24. Most of them are boys.
Wow.
I mean, we had during the COVID period about the rise in teenage pregnancies.
Yes.
So, I mean, who are mostly responsible? The boys. And I'm sure they must have had multiple sexual partners. And the numbers were given by media. Perhaps kuna zingine we didn't know. I think we had 4,000 in Machako. I don't know, they're just numbers bandied around.
Yeah.
Now, I'm narrowing down to the checkpoints. Number 5, remember, the Ministry of Education early this year, they had a very deliberate effort of getting all girls to school. Even teenage mothers, even wale wako kujifungua. And in March this year, we actually saw mainstream media cover girls in hospitals during the KCPE, just to ensure that girls went back to school.
Yes.
Or girls continued learning. I don't remember seeing such initiative for boys.
Okay.
So when you're asking about the gaps, those are clearly. July, there was another study released and said that from one admission, 250,000 boys did not report to Form 1. 150,000 girls. I don't think nobody has followed up. I'm not sure nobody has followed up to see where are those boys now or what are they doing. The education transition rate, I know the government has very good intentions of 100%. But the truth of the matter is, with COVID, more boys are out than girls. So now those are the conversations which now we need now to narrow down to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I think I've picked a couple of things that I'd love to ask you, but to get you back to story in the shule, when you're back in school, boys wanaambiwa mkacheze, madem, they need to be taught something. Was there a better way, or rather, is there a better way to do it?
Okay. Let me first paraphrase that. I asked you a question. Sanitary pads is to girls.
Yes.
As what is to boys?
Empowerment.
That's right. You see, so we have asked that question in several forums, and the first response na kuanga blank face. People say, si tumezoea tu kwenda school for menstrual hygiene, for sanitary pads. So the truth is, there has not been any systematic, any structured way of involving boys through puberty. Umeuliza swali, what could it be? I think there would have been vikao vya vijana. There would have been sessions of boys. Remember, even boys go through their puberty. Their body changes.
Yes.
They're cracking voices. But then, there's this feeling of the boy will take care of himself. So I think, just to answer you on that, it is society, and that starts from, and I want to get back, it starts from the family. People say the home is a seed. That is a place where it starts.
Okay, thank you. Well put. Back to Fariji. Back to Fariji.
Yes.
When you started using sports as a way of empowering the guys back in prisons, what changed?
A lot changed. One, acceptability. Because we started going to prisons with the community. We started going to prisons with their girlfriends. So that changed. There was a bit of family touch. Number 2, so in reintegration, we prepared them to come back to society. But after all, the community ilikuwa ikiendanga huko kuwaona. So there was that small reintegration that started from inside getting to outside. Number 3, and I touched on this earlier, the children of the incarcerated. they started having a special mention. Because now Kumbuka, when we started going there as a community, we also started to involve them. In fact, 2018, Valentine Day, we actually took sons to go and see their fathers. That is how we commemorated Valentine Day. It was just a way of encouraging them and putting the family unit back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You've also talked about the statistics.
Statistics, yes.
Yes. The number is overwhelming. Is a big gap. So maybe just to dive on the 71% of the guys who are in prison. How does the society encourage that? How does the society take part in it? Yes.
The society pushes to that because, one, we don't have structured conversations with the boys. Tuanzie hapo. I will quickly let you know. Girls know about their wedding when they are 15 years old. A girl can even know the theme, whether it's a goddamn wedding, whether it's a... Women are prepared. What lacks is the man who will be standing next to her. But generally, girls grow knowing and being taken through the motions. A man stands one day and is told, no, you're married.
Okay.
Number two, I've mentioned about dysfunctional families.
Yes.
A lot of uncles, a lot of the community around really takes care of the girl. The girl child within the community, especially from dysfunctional families, is pretty taken care of by the community itself. Most boys, and this we have a bit of statistics as well, especially for their fathers who are inside jail, their mothers are married. True? So the boy has grown up with half brothers, half sisters. Deep down, he knows the father is incarcerated. But deep down, nobody is talking to him. A case, we have heard of a case several years back in a school which I won't mention, where kijana alikuwa study 6. I think he took a rubber or a pencil kutoka deskmate. Akaambiwa, wewe wachana na mimi, utakuwa mwizi kama baba yako.
Wow.
That boy was 9 years old. That is the day the boy discovered, Allah, kumbe then my father must have been this. That's why he's inside. And number two, kumbe my father is being discussed in other people's homes and stigma setting. What did he want to do? He said, me carry me, I want to kill somebody so that I go and stay with my daddy. Now that is just to show you how bad, how within the society, hatuongeleshani. For that, he was 9 years old. Number two, there's a case, or one of the Fariji programs, we have a program called Breaking the Cycle. That is where we use children of incarcerated to play football as a platform and engage. We don't bagua, we don't say that wewe na wewe na wewe. But we know for a fact, in Eastlands, in these communities, your cousin, your neighbor, your relative has someone who is incarcerated. So we get the boys. The captain of that team, it's called Fariji United, by the way. The captain, the mother was incarcerated when the boy was 4 years, 8 months. Ndio mama yake alienda jela. The boy will finish from 4 this year. He is turning 17 years old. That boy has grown up without the mother. The father never remarried. The father was strong by a friend of mine. But I'm sure there's a gap in the boy.
Yes.
The boy scored 400 KCPE.
Okay.
He's focused. Kabisa. The coach of that team, he has been in jail. I'll talk jail after 6 years. He's the coach. That guy, when he talks to them knowing what it is. But again, these are just few examples. The society, the community, and the vox box we had before this clearly shows we need to do much more in engaging them. There's something, Fariji has been fortunate to sit in Nairobi City Council. We have, through the County Commissioner's Office, we sit in it's called County Action Plan. His Excellency 2016, by presidential directive, every county to develop a county action plan, basically against violent extremism and radicalization. Radicalization affects more boys than women. Why? Because more boys are vulnerable to, because they don't have a structured way of engaging them, they are vulnerable to extremism, to radicalization. The reason why Fariji was engaged, and we are happy to have been part of the policy document, is because sports remain the glue. Sports, people say, cuts across the age, the religion, the gender, and even social status. So these boys who went to Somalia or who are being radicalized, critically looking at them, it is because they miss the mentorship, they miss conversations, they miss what girls are being told, usikae nyumbani sana, be in the house. Boys are encouraged, enda nje ucheze. Girls are encouraged to stay indoors. So boys are literally being told, stay outside, enda nje. Kwenda nje, you never know the engagement you have outside. I will quickly tell you about how the boys get radicalized, or the change in face of radicalization. 25 years ago, tulikuwa tukisema someone who is being radicalized ni mtu mchafu, and his religion is most likely Muslim, and education level hajasoma. That's a person tulisema, that's radicalization. Garissa attack brought another aspect. The guy who carried on alikuwa amesoma, he was an A student, he was clean, so clearly the face had changed. The Dusit attack brought another angle, gender came into, and not necessarily from the coast. So what does that tell you? The face of radicalization has changed, and global terrorism, it's actually a threat, it's actually mainstreamed, it's actually a threat to the world. But then here in Kenya, we need them to pick up the boy. Because since the boy is seen as the one who is easy, who is susceptible, we need to find out what are the factors that make him that. And those are the ones I've discussed. Thank you.
Okay. Other than empowerment, how do we pick up that boy? Because there's something you talked about, the boy versus the man. When before a boy transitions to being a man, there is something, there's that, how do I call it? There's that journey to being a man. That boy needs a man to be able to be that perfect man.
Yes.
And when that man grows into being a man, there's also something that has to do with being raised up. You know? So other than empowerment and dysfunctional families, what are other ways of picking up that boy to being that man that we need him to be in the society?
I will start with the church, or the mosque, or I would say religious institutions, so that the Hindu, Muslim, and whatever. The church has been one of the greatest pillars in the growth of the family unit. A lot of us went to the church by default. Sunday, everyone was going to the church. In fact, a lot of people were raised in the 70s and 80s. They all went to church by default. Everybody. And up to this day, there's still that joke of even the biggest thief prays unto the Lord, oh Lord, please help me as I go to steal. Amen. That is a joke that is shared because religion was inculcated in them. No, we lost touch of the church. The church also lost its touch in being the leader in that. We had a lot of youth programs in church way back. From singing in the choir, there were altar boys, there was in between, in CPK used to call Kayo, and there are a lot of youth activities around the church. In fact, a lot of the time, I remember we were going to church on Saturday to wash and prepare for Sunday Mass. No, that has changed. I know now we have an TV. We have sofa set branch of going to church. Unaona kwa TV. And unalipa star nini, unalipa your offering. So that was one that changed. Religion as a tool. Number 2, culture. Culture means the deeds. What is it that we hold dearly in our growing up? For the longest time, boys and young men could not drink near their fathers. In fact, to date, there's some tribes I won't mention, up to a 40-year-old man cannot still drink mbele ya baba yake. The man drinks his 2 beers, takes home, then comes. That culture was eroded. Now we have fathers with their sons and daughters, and they're chasing each other for the Jameson. Okay. That changed. And in culture again, there's also what was called mutual respect. Most people grew up, Kenya bus, for example, here in Eastlands, by default, you had to stand up. Bila kuambiwa. Now we have the kababa and the kamama generation. Where, unaambia huyu wangu nitamlipia kiti. You're telling that to a 10-year-old boy. What are you telling him? The culture we lost. We have a 21-year-old. Let's get an example of a 21-year-old. A 21-year-old boy wants to go to the locals to buy a soda and watch his favorite futa. The first thing a 21-year-old boy is told by the manager is, well, uko tutaki vijana, ka uko. And actually the customers will also tell the manager, we don't want vijana huko kwa ba, in your wazee. So the boy just wants to come and watch. The boy wants to outreach, wants to come and watch football. And in the process, perhaps outreach to the boy is reaching out to the men. Mm-hmm. But what are the men doing? They're chasing them out. The girl, a 21-year-old girl, in the same environment, wants to come and watch football. And I'm going nini? I know you're smiling. Come sit here, my daughter. Tuone mpira pamoja. Nikununulia guarana. That is the difference. So the boy, in his outreach, gets thrown out. And the boy could have been perhaps invited, not necessarily kukaa na wazee, but akae kando. Culturally, people used to say, boys used to see their elders slaughter the goat so that you learn how to. Boys used to walk along with their elders. They used to be that uncle of theirs, and they used to walk together. Then you are shown, this is how you did certain things. Nowadays, even Kurashia, these bridal ceremonies, they are very casual and commercialized. Squeeze, it has been reduced to how much do Carol's parents want? 1 million, chukua.
Okay.
So that culture, first religion, culture, and 3, the education and status in society. The government has done very good. There's something called government affirmative action. Mm-hmm. They have got youth empowerment fund, youth enterprise fund, KEOP. They've got Ajira program. Then there's one called Youth, Women, and People Living with Disability. Now, those are very good programs, the serikali. Absolutely. There's money for the youth. Very good. Asante. Now, 1, the boys. When we talk to many boys, the reason they go to the cyber is not necessarily to Google and see the government portal. They go to the cyber to do what? Betting and gambling. They want to microwave economy, get rich or die trying. Girls, they go to the cyber to try to look up for jobs, to try to look up for those government affirmative action, the youth enterprise. So boys then, they get knocked off simply because they are not led to those cybers away from the betting and gambling. You see, just to add to that, there is also, like for example, there has been this Kazi Mtaani. Mm-hmm. Good government initiative, environmental engagement, very healthy. But the way it was packaged, initially it was came up that hii ni kazi ya vijana. So ideally it came out like kazi ya vijana ni drainage, kufagia, such kind of. So I think that kind of narrative and messaging also affected.
Okay.
Yeah. I finish by perhaps adding one more thing.
Before you finish, you have been in prisons and you know how uko ndani kuko. So maybe just for someone watching, watu wenye hajaienda jela, uko ndani kuko aje? And what are some of the things that you picked from that space that can help shape a man watching today?
Okay. First, a caveat, because most people think that I've been inside there as a prisoner, and I keep reminding them. Gladly. Yes. One, most people who go to prison, believe this or not, they are innocent. A lot of them, we are going to touch later about another activity we do as Fariji. People who go there, especially for long sentences, wanajikubali wanasema, now I'm here. People who go to prison, I've mentioned there, I'm not saying all are innocent, but I'm saying especially for crimes of rape and defilement.
Okay.
And I want again to use this platform to say a lot of the boys we have in the juvenile section, they are there because of rape and defilement. Actually, defilement, because defilement is under 18. And I'll tell you very quickly, there's been a lot of cases of business rivalry. Two women wanaishi ploti moja, wanakosana kibiashara, then you set your daughter to my son. Then you go to the chief, this one has defiled my daughter. Stroke 2 inside. We have had issues where land issues where an old man has been said, no, for him not to get out of the way so that we get this piece of land, we need to accuse him of rape. Because that's the easiest way to go inside. You saw on mainstream media the other day when a daughter confessed that she was actually told and to frame the father by the mother. That is just one. And it was such a sad story, but the truth is, perhaps there are many more. So, kule ndani now. Because wamejikubali, they then want to make the best of the situation. That is how then Fariji goes there because of rehabilitation, reform, and reintegration. Because then they come back, either by good conduct, either by finishing up their sentences, or by appeal.
Okay.
So inside there, of course, the communities we take around and mavijana whom we take around, we don't tell them about how rosy the place is. You see pale pizza. But then we tell those who are inside there is a life out here and there's a God of second chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well said. Let me check the comments. Yes, Nancy Bansi anasema fire. Thank you so much for tuning in, Nancy Bansi. Lea Adhiambo also has a comment here. Anasema men also have emotions, feelings. They had to. Ila ikibidi Allah, wanaume pia ni binadamu. I think she is commenting on the question that I asked, when is the right time for a man to cry?
True.
Stibiko anasema men tuko na Father's Day na kazi mtaani, yes. He's also saying saizi KRA ndio inapigania boy child. Wababa wakichukua wasichana tunafaa kuoa. KRA lazima ijue mahali pesa inatoka. Okay. Thank you so much for that comment, Steve.
Now you see, for people say, more and more boys are getting to jua kali. More and more girls are getting to furthering their education.
Yes.
In fact, on a different platform, there is a speaker who said, before COVID, when you go to town at 7:30 p.m., wale wasichana wote unaona town wametoka evening class. Ajabu. Where are the boys?
Where are you boys?
Where are you? Good question. And it leads to something else which we're just finishing up. Because the government, there's called government affirmative action. It's part of Vision 2030. And the truth of the matter is boys have not been, there's not been awareness and advocacy. vijana hawajaambiwa these jobs online ziko, ni zenu, apply. There has not been a success story. There has not been a testimonial. Vijana wanasemanga sisi ni kama, sisi ni Doubting Thomas. Si utaka kujua, Brayo alienda, akaomoka, na ndio huyu. There is a story. So most boys also want to see and feel the programs working on the ground.
Okay.
Number 2, TVET institutions. The government has now refocused their energy on TVET. Wanasema education hii ni ya kusoma na kuchop for exam. It's just one way. I mean, and COVID has proven to us that indeed it is kazi in technical skills. Yeah. Those are the jobs that remain.
Yeah.
True or false?
True.
I used to work for a media organization. As you were in the production, in the management, si kazi yetu ilisha kitambo. The people who do your sound, your technicians, those are the ones who still get jobs. Now, TVET institutions, they are really, really good. And I'm a champion for them because, one, even from the prison inside coming out, they have a lot of skill. Of course, tumeona kind of the prison industry, the kind of vitu wanatengeneza, right? So TVET works. What now needs to be done is for the government to have a structure to get to the out of school, out of employment youth.
Okay. So
that they can get the TVET through to them. 30 years ago, we used to have technical schools. Si kila mtu alienda from one. No. There are those who went to technical schools and they made it. And from technical schools, they went to polytechnic. And they actually did make it. Okay. But then something happened in the education sector, zikatolewa.
Okay. Before I let you go, this conversation, of course, the conversation hatuwezi maliza leo, si ndio?
Yeah. Itabidi.
Yes. But before I let you go,
yes.
We've talked about the things that happen inside there through the help of Fariji. What happens after this man has been released?
Good question. One, we have been part of the journey inside. Tumekuwa now inside. And as Fariji, within the community, we have a shop. Part of what we do, we are multi-choice agency and now a Zuku agent. Most of the conversations first inside, we have taken GoTV decoders inside and actually DSTV as well. So in our shop is part of an ecosystem where we have also connected with their families through our shop, Fariji. We do GoTV, we do DSTV. So wakitoka, we are an easier place to get hold of them. So what we did last year, we formed a football team. Because remember I told you, football or sports is a platform, is a glue that fuels conversation. So we have a football team. We initially called it Team X, but it was recently changed to Returning Citizens. We are returning back. So we are hoping, because we formed it during the COVID, we are hoping to use that football team as a platform to go to society and engage the boys, to play with them.
Okay.
And in between playing with them, we have conversations.
Yes.
Number 2, part of the conversations we have is on gender equity. Kumbuka, you cannot also have a conversation with boys without the girls.
Yes, yes.
And girls without the boys.
Yes.
Though girls have had theirs. So what we are doing, we have started football, which we say it's 5 boys, 2 girls. 5 boys, it's a 7-a-side.
Okay.
But then the rule of that game is girls must score.
Oh, okay.
That means the boys must look for the girl to pass the ball to score. What are we trying to achieve? We are trying to achieve gender equity. The respect that we have, the team respect they have kwa kiwanja, off the field, we have seen the change. They actually respect the girls because that's your scorer. So that's another thing we are doing from their inside to outside. Number 3, we are having conversations about SRH, sexual reproductive health. More so, after the adolescent crime. The truth of the matter is, people don't talk about it in Islands, but it is the truth especially. There's a lot of sex for food, sex for pads. Go around the low-income areas, utaona. So, how are we doing it differently? We are doing it differently because we are using the boys to give the girls sanitary pads. We are saying boys too are part of the conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. What are some of the societal expectations what does societal expectations do to a man?
Societal expectations, one, they build a profile bigger than him. I told you earlier when we started, most of the guys who are in prison, they are there because society made them champions. We deal more with sports personalities. You are champion, every girl in the village, every girl in the estate looked up to you. Your parents, your lifestyle, your shine, your fashion, etc. Society drove you to that. Number two, men are traditionally the hunter. To date, even people say, loosely, you can see a young girl saying, maisha kinilemea, I just look for a man and get married. Or, I just become a mistress. After all, I can be kept. No, there's no room for boys to be kept. So clearly, a boy needs to work. Needs to work hard. So society expectation is the boy must go out. But then we are quick to add, go out where? Are they armed? Are they equipped to go out? That is where society expectations are. Because a woman says, mi kazi yangu, mi namlelea mtoto kwa nyumba, wacha tafute. Perhaps it would have been better if kusema wacha tukatafute.
Yes.
Perhaps society would then be easy on both.
Okay. What do you love about being a man?
Three. I would say number one, being the hunter. I belong to the old school. I'm an old school, mimi msee wa kitambo, kidogo. So for me, I think just the comfort of being the man who is out there hunting, getting the food to the house, that gives me the drive. Number two, it is also being part of the community that then holds on to cultures. Trust me, I know we are trying the Generation X, millennials, TikTok generation, but the truth is, there are some roles which are traditionally, and they are upheld by men. I gave you a very good example. Brad price negotiation. For across Africa, men lead that, but nowadays it has been commercialized. Squeezy Karo nakuuliza, how much does your family want for your bride price? Unaniambia 1 million. Naeka mchanga, mshwari, tunakupatia, you become my wife. So as a man, I believe in that old school way of getting through to you. And through bride price, through negotiation. The other thing I like about being a man, there are also the opportunities to then talk about our generational change. In fact, now we are even more comfortable getting our wives, our daughters to be with us because you're feeling, yes, they feel protected. The Bible is clear about the head.
The man is the head of the family.
Yes. And the Bible is also very clear on the role of the woman. The role of the woman, the Bible clearly says, is to obey the man. The role of the man is also very clear, to love the wife. In another conversation to tell how that has been twisted. You see, Aleo.
Yeah. So thank you so much for creating time and giving us all that information. I've gotten something from that, and thank you so much for enlightening our audience.
Asante sana.
Tunashukuru sana.
Asante sana for your time. And next time we come around with my CEO.
Yes.
Because I'm always asked, Fariji, who is Fariji and where did Fariji come from? As in my closing remarks, you can check our social media channels, farijisolutions.com. That's our website. Fariji Solutions, Facebook, Fariji Solutions, YouTube. Fariji was born, the Fariji, the brand, comes from the Bible as well. It comes from the book of 1 Samuel chapter 2. Kwa Kiswahili, Mungu wa neema alimfariji Hana. Naye Mungu wa neema alinifariji mimi. He comforted me with a daughter and they named her Fariji. So I comfort the community.
Wow.
Asante.
Wow. Asante Sada. Guys, that was Mwangi from Fariji, the team leader. I hope you've gotten something from that. And guess what? Kama miss something, you can always come and watch this video on our YouTube at E_Square TV. And of course, you can interact with us on our socials. We are on Facebook at Eastlands Expressions, on Twitter at E_Square KE, and of course on Instagram at E_Square KE.